Hello folks, this is Jamil for Gunstock Reviews. We're here in Phoenix, Arizona at the headquarters of Enlo Custom Guns with Marty. How you doing, buddy?
Good.
Marty, before we start, like always, we like to ask our viewers to like this video, share this video, and subscribe to the channel so you can get content like this. So, Marty, we have here the Midwest Industries, let me read this thing, FN16 CRM14. But that's a mouthful, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's our, in our video when we introduced it, we now call it the Honey Badger.
Okay.
Why? Because honey badgers don't give a shit. And of course, this has a couple of upgrades using Midwest Industries parts. I added the MI front sight, rear sight, and the extender base for full co-witness.
Right.
They had the lower 1/3 one, which is taller, and the shorter one is the full co-witness.
Okay.
And of course, we have a Aimpoint T2,
micro
T2, and we're going to add the Midwest Industries. What is this called? It's the MB4 two-chamber muzzle brake.
Okay.
We've done a bunch of these on camera, so we don't need to show people how to do them. So here.
There we go.
You see the magic of television.
Magic of television, yeah.
Yeah, so Dave was asking if this is going to be annoying.
It's going to be loud.
And actually, I was telling Dave, because when they package these, after they, you know, blew them or whatever, they're all oily.
Yes.
So I cleaned it for pictures, but I didn't clean the little holes in it.
Yeah, it's probably going to blast. It's probably going to blast that stuff out.
Yeah. So before we do the range shoot, I need to go forward of where the camera is and pop a couple of rounds and get all that oil out, because this is going to be loud.
Yeah.
And Marty, one thing that before we go, when the first description of this rifle, I noted that it was a mid-length gas system. What is the benefit of the mid-length gas system?
Well, the mid-length gas. Well, okay. So you have your carbine length gas system, which is, so basically I'm looking at the block here, right? So the block here as follows, right? About right here. Carbine length system is about here, and the rifle length system is about here, roughly thereabouts. The thing is that when the bullet's traveling down the barrel, right? When the bullet's traveling down the barrel, the gas is diverted back into the action, right? So there's a higher pressure in the barrel, right? Which means it's actually running the action quicker, right? So as that pressure diminishes to basically to where this length is in the mid length, it's a little bit slower. So when the carbines were first made, there used to be this thing about carbines, and you know, it was one of these things, a famous quote I used to hear from an old friend of ours, Marty from Accuracy Speaks.
Yep.
And he would always say there's two types of carbines. There's those that have problems and those that will have problems, right? And that was the case 20 years ago, because there was a lot of just not very well made guns. Because not everybody was doing things like M4 feed ramps. Not everybody was doing things like higher quality components, staked gas keys and that type of stuff, right? But you know, one of the bigger things with that is they would run mid-link gas, or they'd run carbine link gas systems, and they would not have M4 feed ramps. And so what they would have to do is they'd have to slow down the system with a heavy buffer. So you'd have like the H-mark buffer in order to slow down the cyclic rate, right? Well, by putting a mid-link gas system in, we don't really have the need for the H buffers because we've slowed down the system. Now, practically everybody makes guns with M4 ramps now. In fact, I think I have an A2 that has M4 ramps in it. But for the most part, it was one of these things that by slowing down the action, they increase the reliability. It's one of those things that happened with 1911s. Now, 1911 started off as a full-size gun, full-size 5-inch 1911. Well, then they shortened it to the commander length, which is a 4.5-inch barrel. Well, when they shortened it, they also shortened the amount of space that the slide could travel back, right? So by doing that, it created ejection issues. It created feeding issues because let's say your magazine spring is worn out, right? So the faster your gun has to run, the better your magazine spring has to work in order to get that round up into place, right? Well, if you get a worn out magazine spring, yeah, you're gonna have failures. Thankfully today, we've had a lot of benefits from good spring technology, things that have caught up, right? It's pretty hard to screw up an AR-15 at this point, but I'll say a mid-link gas system is just one of the benefits of that. That you just, overall, you increase the reliability, and most people don't really need to shoot that fast. In fact, I would much rather have a gun that slow fires and feeds every time than one that ran way too fast and would hang up in between. So, kind of like the difference between the full-size Uzis and the micro Uzis. Well, the micro Uzis, sometimes they'd run so fast that they'd overrun their magazine springs, right? And they'd have failure somewhere around like 15 rounds, or at least I've had issues with those in the past, and so these are just one of those things, right? But yeah, so by slowing down the system, you get a little benefit. Also, the recoil pulse is different, so it doesn't actually run as hard. So like you're not going to have a whole lot of recoil with this muzzle brake on it anyway. But by changing the recoil pulse on it, just by diminishing how fast it's going to go, with that bolt carrier going back and forth reciprocating, you feel it up against your shoulder. So it's going to change the recoil of the gun as well. But those are the benefits. Well,
we should send one of these guns to that one journalist back east who had PTSD from firing an AR-15. So he's still taking medication now, still today, because of that PTSD he had by shooting one. So.
I'm sure that there's that meme of the little kid screaming when there's a fuzzy rabbit in the corner.
Yeah, well, he had PTSD, so thanks, Marty. This is great. We can wait to take it to the range and put some rounds through it and annoy Dave at the same time, because I'm shooting that way and Dave is there, and he's shaking his head going like, oh, this is gonna suck, but oh well. Well, thanks, Marty. Appreciate for you doing this for us, and like always, folks, please remain healthy, stay safe, and definitely have fun at the range.
Thank you for watching Gunstock Reviews. Please visit our website at www.gunstockreviews.com for more exclusive content. Please visit our Patreon page at www.patreon.com/gunstockreviews. Your contributions would be greatly appreciated and help us grow our selections and frequency of videos.